Meritocracy is a system where people hold power, influence, and wealth based on their ability. The desire for meritocracy is pretty intuitive. People with the ability to create the most value from resources should be the ones in charge of those resources. To put that in plainer language, people should do what they're good at. Talented artists should do art. Brilliant scientists should do science. Skillful leaders should be in leadership positions. I will get to disagreements in the theory of meritocracy, but for the moment I want to take for granted my admittedly vague definition of meritocracy as a standard to be strived for and move on to the implementation and practice of that theory. When looking at implementation, there are two main hurdles that need to be addressed. One is, how do you determine who is the most qualified? And two, how do you get the best candidates to do the jobs that they are most qualified for? How do you find the people with the potential to be the best doctors? And how do you convince those people to make the huge sacrifice of time and effort to do the study and practice required to become a great doctor? Enter free market capitalism. Those are words that mean a lot of different things to different people. For now, I'm going to do the reverse of my approach with meritocracy, starting with theory this time and working back to implementation. So, the free market capitalism ideal I'm going to use for this video goes like this. If an individual creates something which is of value to the market, they can sell it to the market, and in exchange, they are entitled to take something out of the market of equal value. Let's take that step by step with the example of a farmer. She creates something of value, in this case food, and sells that food to the market. In exchange, she is given money which she can in turn use to get things she wants from the market, like maybe a house, a computer, and a YouTube Premium subscription. This system creates incentives that do a great job of combating both of the questions I asked about implementing meritocracy. When a person is rewarded with value out of the market at a rate proportional to the value she put in, she is incentivized to pursue a career where she can provide the most value to the market. Let's say there's a lumber company that is in trouble because their finances are not in order. Then there's a student who's a whiz with numbers but wants to become a lumberjack even though he's terrible with power tools. His value to the company would be much higher as an accountant than a lumberjack. So if the lumberjack company compensates their employees in proportion to the value their employees provide, they may be able to convince someone like the student to pursue the accounting job rather than the lumberjack job. Addressing the practical implementation of meritocracy with theoretical capitalism fuels a greed is good sentiment, since following a path that gets you the most money should be the same as following the path where you provide the most to the market and by extension society in general. And then on the other side, if the compensation that you get out of the market is dictated by the value that you put in, then if you are not satisfied with your compensation, you only have yourself to blame. Altogether, this train of thought gets you to the mythical concept of the American dream.
I believe we can keep the promise of our founding. The idea that if you're willing to work hard, it doesn't matter who you are, or where you come from, or what you look like, or where you love. It doesn't matter whether you're black or white, or Hispanic, or Asian, or Native American, or young, or old, or rich, or poor, able, disabled, gay, or straight. You can make it.
Before I move on from this libertarian propaganda, I want to look at how the American dream explains away some situations where individuals may end up with more wealth than the value of their labor to the market merited. With nepotism and inheritance, individuals get wealth not because they are providing value to the market, but because of who they are and who they know. This is typically seen as okay because a different individual provided value to the market and was free to do whatever they liked with the compensation they received, including sharing it with friends and family. With stealing, an individual takes wealth from the market unfairly without providing anything of value themselves. Stealing is typically illegal. Luck is a little bit more tricky. It's tough to make an argument that a man who made his fortune by picking the right lottery numbers provided a service to the market that was proportional to the wealth he got out. On the other hand, let's say you made your wealth as a venture capitalist. It took some luck for the little startup company you invested in to grow into a multi-billion-dollar business, but you made that investment based on extensive research, and the startup was able to find success in part because they had access to the additional capital from your investment. In that case, maybe the compensation you received when you sold those shares is indeed proportional to the value you put in, and therefore your wealth was earned by merit. To elaborate on luck and skill, and eventually get back to what all this has to do with Michael Phelps, I want to bring back LeBron James. But instead of asking about the greatest basketball player of all time, I ask about the better one-on-one player right now. Also, instead of comparing him to Michael Jordan, I will be comparing him to myself. Now, in all likelihood, this theoretical basketball game ends with LeBron James blocking my shot every time I'm on offense and dunking on me every time I'm on defense. But, and hear me out, there is a chance I could win if I got really lucky. Maybe we're just playing first the 3 baskets and I throw up 3 crazy shots over my shoulder that all somehow go in. Or maybe in a longer game, LeBron James twists an ankle and breaks his wrist on the first play, and I'm able to scrap out a win with LeBron hobbling around and shooting with his offhand. In the far more likely scenario that LeBron wins, it could be said that skill won out over luck. Now, LeBron worked very hard to become as skilled at basketball as he is. His workouts and training regimen are renowned across the basketball world. But he got pretty lucky too. If LeBron was, say, 5'9" instead of 6'9", much of his skill would not be as effective. His athleticism was certainly improved by his training, but doing a bunch of squats helps some people's jumping ability more than it helps others. I do not feel that this form of luck threatens meritocracy. In fact, I would argue that it's the very reason it's appealing. If everyone was the same height, had the same athleticism, and picked up the skills of basketball at the same rate, there would be no reason to push individuals with more potential towards basketball, because all individuals would have the same potential. Where LeBron James really got lucky, though, is in the value the market assigns to basketball being played at the highest level. In part 1, I did not suggest that Michael Phelps is overrated because his height and freakishly long torso give him an advantage over other swimmers. I think Michael Phelps is overrated because I don't think his success in butterfly merits consideration in the greatest swimmer discussion. The market's evaluation of an individual's labor is not an objective measurement. An individual's value to the market is contingent on all of the history that made the market the way it is. The history behind the market valuing skill in breaststroke and butterfly is that those strokes are only around because 170 years ago, some British elite thought breaststroke was a gentlemanly alternative to the barbaric Native American style of swimming. I'm not saying that Michael Phelps' skill in butterfly isn't impressive. I think it is. I'm not even saying that butterfly specifically should be removed from the Olympics. I don't really care either way. The point I'm trying to get across is these are questions worth asking. While meritocracy and capitalism can be tools that improve society in amazing ways, they should not be above scrutiny.